Welcome, everyone. My name is Alina Rivilis. I'm the Director of Data Science and AI at Fairstone Bank of Canada. I'm also the CEO and founder at AI Future Leaders. And today we are going to be speaking about enterprise AI in 2026. We'll touch upon governance, AI agents, and the reality of execution. So, AI, it's a big term. The question is not when, or it's more about how we are going to adopt it and how we are going to apply AI. We have got AI across the board now. Companies are all talking about it. Everyone is standing up pilots, experiments. Few are still having that success, those success stories, and that business value. So in this slide, I just want to touch briefly upon what do we mean when we say AI? It's actually a huge concept from smart robotics, decision intelligence. You have AI agents, generative AI, chatbots. We also have got predictive models, machine learning and predictive models and analytics. Oftentimes we say AI to mean all of these good things. So the challenge remains here. We still have that AI execution gap. Several enterprises in 2026, this year, reporting that it's difficult to deliver AI at scale with that telemetry, with that resilience, that orchestration, and that clear ownership of decisions. The challenge is that enterprises are launching AI initiatives. Everybody is excited, but there is still a gap between the promise and the production grade impact. And that gap, unfortunately, is increasing between companies. So in this session, we are just going to dive into this a bit further about this gap and how do we bridge that gap between your pilots and that production and that scale, and how do we generate that value with AI? So AI agents, that's a real disruptor. They're all about action. AI agents are all about taking action, executing, delivering. I suspect many of us are starting to dabble in agentic systems. Some of us have got agentic systems already in production. Many companies are experimenting. And for the first time, AI, it gets a memory, it gets personality, access to tools. You might actually have agentic systems talking to other agentic systems. And Elon Musk actually predicts that, well, in the future, because of this situation with AI agents and where AI is going, well, maybe work is going to be optional and maybe money is going to be just irrelevant. So we shall see. We shall see if Elon Musk's prediction is going to come true. Others are actually concerned as to AI taking over and automating tasks, maybe entire job functions. But we do know that AI is disrupting the industry from financial insurance, actually across the board. Every single industry has got data, has got analytics, and has got a place for an AI application. So let's talk about AI agents briefly. We all say AI agents, but do we know what it means and what are the type of these AI agents? A very simple AI agent, you can say, or just a simple agent, is just a reflex agent. You have a thermostat in your house. Well, let's say the temperature in my house right now, 21 degrees. If it goes up, this agent, this thermostat is going to kick in, and it's going to, if the temperature is high, it's going to turn on the AC, and it will try to lower it back to 21. And the same goes if it gets very cold in the house. If it goes beyond and lower than 21 degrees Celsius, the heat is going to come on. So it's a very simple reflex agent based on certain rules. Now we can have much more complicated systems, model-based systems with memory, with rules, with navigation systems. And the complexity increases with this. You could have a goal-based agent that seeks a goals, that plans, and that actions. Or adaptive agents, such as a recommendation engine, based on certain inputs, for example, based on certain customers, we might be producing a recommendation as to which product we should be offering you next. So this next best action. And the model would be adapting based on your browsing history, based on your purchase history, based on maybe other data points, maybe your social interactions, maybe based on what you downloaded and how you interacted with the company. So adaptive agents. Also, you could have multi-agent systems. You could have agents working collaboratively on a common task. So imagine a situation, let's say you're a company and you want to follow up with your customers. You might have an AI agent that crafts custom email communication to talk to your customers. But you have got customers in different languages. You might set up agents that translate that message into different languages. You might have yet another agent to come in and validate the quality of that content, and maybe another one to do QA. So you might have multi-agent systems talking to each other and figuring out, okay, if they're fully autonomous, then they would take the action of actually sending out that email communication to that customer. Many companies, especially regulated industries, we don't tend to do that. We tend to put a human in the loop, where, for example, a salesperson or a marketing individual in a marketing department reviews that communication before it goes out to that customer. So we call it human in the loop. But if you are a company with thousands such communications, can you actually afford human employees, to review all the content? Maybe not. At that case, you might be doing something called human on the loop, potentially reviewing maybe a subset of these communications, doing some spot checks, or only examining those edge cases. Utility-based agents, dynamic pricing algorithms, loyalty offers, optimizations, they maximize utility. It could be your customer's lifetime value that you want to optimize. You want to maybe optimize spend, or you may want to minimize something, such as that unsubscribe rate. You want to retain as many customers as possible. So there's different types of agents. When it comes to enterprises, there are lots of tools available to us. There's lots of applications we can do from machine learning. And in machine learning, you are using your custom proprietary data, and you might be predicting something that's specific to you. So it's your data predicting something very specific. For example, your customer churn. RAG systems have become very popular. So those are retrieval augmented generation. They combine the language models and enterprise knowledge systems grounded in responses. So this would be underneath your custom chatbots, on top of your custom knowledge base. So imagine policies and documents from your company, and we can set up a chatbot for, let's say, employees to interact with all the thousands of policies in the company. So that would be that under the hood. Agents can come into play where they would take on planning, they decide some sort of actions. They have got access to tools, to memory. They do have access to large language models. With generative AI, a company could be generating content, images, creative, enabling drafting. You could leverage this across many initiatives. We're all familiar with co-pilots. Some of us, I suspect, are using Microsoft Copilot, and other tools. And automation. This one is an interesting one. And often I get asked, is it the same? Automation or agentic systems. So automation tends to be, when we say that, we tend to speak about robotic, RPA, robotic process automation. And we tend to speak about rule-based execution, deterministic, auditable, structured, without that large language model in there. So this one is more about, hey, I have a pen. Let's automate it. Let's put it from this spot, point A, to point B. With an AI agent, hey, here's a pen. Is it a pen? Where should we put it? Do we know to put it here or there? So agentic systems, Gen AI systems, they are probabilistic. Automation is deterministic. Okay, now that we have our definitions, many are adopting AI agents. 88 of executives, back when they were surveyed a year ago, they were saying, well, they do plan to increase AI-related budgets due to agentic AI in 2025. Now that we are in 2026, every executive has got AI on their roadmap. Close to 80%, or maybe more actually by now, of companies are adopting AI agents and agentic systems. Many enterprises are transferring many tasks from humans to AI systems and agents. And in a couple of years, IDC projects 1.3 billion AI agents. So can you imagine, if we have got 8 billion humans on the planet, in a couple of years, we might actually have 8 billion agents. Well, this particular report is projecting 1.3 billion. Right now, we have got a lot of agents. And there is now even social systems and there, like a chatbot, like a Facebook for AI agents to go and talk. So there's now social networks for AI agents. And we are shifting into a place where human and AI are working side by side, collaborating. So the shift is from assistive AI, copilots, chatbots. Now we are in this, 2026 is all about agentic AI, autonomous systems that reason, plan, and act. So many of us are familiar with copilots and chatbots. What's happening right now in many companies is that many tend to go and, let's say, purchase Microsoft Copilot, implement it, and they say, well, I have AI now in my company. I have got this Microsoft Copilot. How come I'm not seeing that business value? And there was a study recently that came out that measured the impact of tools such as the Copilot, such as tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and those tools tend to be personal productivity. They tend to be around helping that human, they need human input, they may have limited context awareness, and they tend to be more reactive. Or Copilot, you might have that license, that big license that integrates into your Microsoft tools. So that's for personal productivity. And that study that I just mentioned, 7,000 enterprises took place in that study, and the impact on the bottom line was in the 2 to 3%. It was still impact. It was productive. Yes, there was a lift, but it was only in the 2 to 3%. Now, when it comes to agents, proactive, they could be acting autonomously. You could have multi-step systems. They could be executing complex workflows. And if you have any questions, please do type them in the chat. Okay. So they use tools. They could be using adaptive reasoning, navigating through ambiguous situations. And they could be collaborating with other agents or humans. The impact from AI agents, companies are seeing 30-40% lift, depending on the use case, maybe even higher. And it's important to figure out where do you implement those agents to get that business value. So trends and impact of agents, autonomous decision making. I don't know how many of us have got truly autonomous systems. We often tend to have that human in the loop, or we like to control what our agents are doing, but companies are venturing into this area. Here are some examples: healthcare diagnostics, financial transactions. You could potentially have a fully autonomous AI system that is making certain changes based on market conditions, for example, or based on certain data inputs. Collaborative multi-agent orchestrations, they are also, you can see in applications such as supply chain robotics. And enterprises are shifting from rule-based and reactive to more autonomous, more reasoning, with AI models improving. And right now we have got GPT from GPT 5.5. We have got latest and greatest from Anthropic, Claude models. LLMs are improving quite a bit. And the quality of AI agents is improving quite a bit. And these systems, if they are designed well, they could take and they could produce quite a bit of impact. So here is a little AI agent just to show you that I built. So I built it. I built this with N8N. It's just to demonstrate, just conceptually, because we're saying AI agent and you're hearing the words AI agent everywhere. So what does this mean? I have got a conversation. In this particular one, I have a chat. And this AI agent, I give it access to OpenAI models. In this case, I selected the GPT 5.2, I believe, model. I gave it access to a memory, so it remembers what it is this that we were discussing. I gave it access to my particular email, to my Gmail. I gave it access to my Google Calendar. And when conversations come in, this AI agents, this particular agent is literally helping me draft meeting notes, summarization. It can book me into my calendar. It can produce drafts. I'm not letting it talk to any customers or stakeholders. All I'm getting it to do is produce drafts based on my inputs, based on other information that's coming in, and for me to review. Now, it's a very simple toy example. And now imagine many agents talking to each other. More complex examples. Let's say you're an enterprise. And let's assume you're in the insurance industry. For example, you might have claims coming in. You could have one AI agent to figure out what is this data that's coming in, document intelligence. Let's understand and scan those thousands of documents and applications that are coming into my system. Another AI agent could be kicking in to classify and tag. A third one might be taking some sort of action and updating your CRM systems, potentially alerting that human employee worker downstream, or taking other actions. So if you're a business that's processing 1,000 documents every single day, and your AI agent can help reduce some of that workload, and if your business, that's core business for you, you could see quite tremendous value from doing something like that. But before you build agents, you need to figure out, do you even need them? What is it that you're asking the AI agents to do? Are you introducing risks? And how are you making sure your agents are secure, delivering value? Are you monitoring them? Do you have the right guardrails in place? Many of us are actually in regulated industries. If you are in financial industry, healthcare industry, you need to make sure that you have got that oversight, monitoring, governance. You're not leaking any of your data. You're not putting yourself at risk. Yes, you could be standing up an AI agent, but is this agent helping things or increasing that risk? So, what's ideal for AI agents? Like in my example with document processing, what's ideal to pass off to an AI agent? High volume repetitive tasks, split second decision, billing lookups, fraud detection, resetting passwords. Excellent. Pattern recognition across large data sets. If you do need something with 24/7 availability requirements, crafting emails, if you have to talk to millions of customers and you do want that custom email communication for every customer, and you may need to hire a great deal of human employees, maybe that's a good task for AI agents, where one agent writes it, another one validates it, another translates it into French, another one picks it up and maybe deploys it based on certain conditions to your customers. So tasks also with clear rules and boundaries do help. And these types of examples are great for AI agents. Custom email follow-up, document processing, things that are high value, tend to be high volume, repetitive tasks that tend to impact your bottom line. Now, what is good for humans to keep? Right? You're asking, well, where does the human come in? Ambiguous tasks, novel situations requiring judgment, relational, emotionally nuanced interactions, or where you have ethical decisions. Do you actually want that AI agent to figure out who gets a job? You can have an AI agent to sift through the resumes and rank them, but you still want that human, that HR recruitment expert to make that decision who gets the job. And the same goes who gets selected for a certain program, or who gets that vital surgery. Certain things you do want to have that human in the loop, and you do want to keep with that human, where you have high stakes financial and legal decisions. It's often good to consider that hybrid, I call it hybrid sweet spot, that human in the loop or human on the loop, where agents maybe handle the initial triage and humans manage the escalation. Or you could have an AI agent analyzing your data that human interprets the strategic implications. Or you have a workflow, a routine workflow, and the human oversees the quality and makes those exceptions. Leaders are expecting rapid automation. We are all about give me value right now, immediate ROI. I want to have measurable returns. I want them now. I want them fast. I want seamless adoption, competitive advantage. The problem is a lot of this takes time. You may not always see that immediate ROI. According to Gartner, 49% of leaders highly involved in AI report that their organizations struggle to estimate and demonstrate that value of AI. It is a real challenge. We are plugging it in, and yet we are not seeing the results. So how come? Why many fail with AI? Do you have a clear AI strategy? Are you focusing maybe on the wrong use case? Maybe you're starting with technology instead of that business problem. Maybe you did not invest into that training or that change management. Also, many lack those definitions, that scope and the vision. you need to frame. You need to frame the problem. You need to frame what it is you're trying to achieve. You also need the resources. You don't underestimate the cost. Many are throwing millions of dollars into AI systems, agentic systems, and they are failing to convert that into value. A big problem often is that stakeholder buy-in and risks are just very high. So where this gap? We're sensing this pilot overload. Everybody is trying, experimenting, dozens of proof of concepts. And the problem is these POCs, those pilots, often are disconnected from your business strategy. And the tools might be fragmented across without a unified roadmap. The governance might not be there, or it might be partial. And without the right frameworks or audit trails, especially in regulated industry, you might be stuck from getting your pilot to production because the governance is not in place. Another issue is adoption. Let's say you built something amazing, but the adoption is just not there. You did not work on that change management, and you did not work with the employees. Many assume that data governance is exactly the same like AI governance. Not true. Yes, they are related. You do need good quality data to have good quality AI, but it also requires more than just your data governance. You need to have AI governance, and it's evolving so fast. Oftentimes, risks might outweigh the benefits. And unfortunately, in enterprises, the slow processes don't allow for very rapid prototyping, and the patterns from going from POC to production may not be there. So you need to start with those patterns. Start with the architecture. Unlock patterns to work with PII data or no PII data, to work with documents or to work with other types of data. But you need to establish those patterns, and you need to establish that governance, which is more than just your AI policy and process. The more autonomy you give to AI, the more governance you have to put in place. Organizations that invest in that infrastructure early, they're the ones that are able to deliver here. Autonomy and governance, they do scale together. So what makes for a good governance? This is just at a high level. You should establish your intake process. Similarly to how you would ingest other projects, you do want to assess those use cases, maybe conduct a high-level risk assessment like that risk tiering, have the right controls in place. Think about vendors. Are you going to be building it in-house, using a third party? Maybe you're going to be using an accelerator. The human oversight, what are the controls in there, and the monitoring. You might have monitoring on your solutions to make sure that you're identifying the bias or unexpected behaviors. So from hype to value, a concept we often talk about is fail fast, learn fast, right? I actually like to say, well, you're going to see soon, but it's all about fast prototyping, and you need to make sure that your AI experiments align to that business strategy. And the idea is prototyping fast and being agile. So why projects stall? Well, you often don't have a clear business owner, maybe weak ROI definition, potentially poor data readiness, or no governance pathways, and workflow mismatch. We're actually coming to an end of this talk, so I want to ask if anybody has got any questions or inputs. Please do put them in the chat, and I will try to answer. I want to talk about the prioritization of your AI projects. You do want to make sure that you are delivering the highest value possible. you do want to also assess that feasibility, right? And ask these factors for success. Engage the business sponsor, make sure you have the data, the business value, the risks, the complexity, and the costs. You want to make sure that you're monitoring, and you optimally want the high value, low complexity, also low risk projects when you're prioritizing. So any questions? So yes, a question came, the gaps, and the gaps that are there, and yes, the biggest gaps for leadership and adoption tends to be quite there. Actually, how about I show you? Okay, here are some use cases. Here are some use cases. Here are some use cases from Gartner, in particular in the banking industry. So where are these use cases fall when it comes to value and feasibility? So the highest value and the likely wins tend to be in the enterprise AI assistants. So these would be your co-pilots, your chatbots, things like a ChatGPT, code generation tools, retail credit underwriting, anti-money laundering, contact center applications, fraud detection. This is kind of your sweet spot. Then you have got still high value next best action type. And here at the bottom, you have got other type of use cases. And the classics, such as customer segmentation, churn, risk management. So yes, do put in your questions. How are companies, so a question came in, how are enterprising approaching drafting new policies? Yes, enterprises are creating AI policies right now, and they're putting them into play. And they need to adapt them based on, there's always new tools out there, there's new technology. We have got concerns around shadow AI, approved use in the company of AI. If you're in a financial institution, you might have a policy around, as we call, data and AI model residency and sovereignty. For example, if you're a financial institution in Canada, you may have a requirement where your data is not allowed to leave Canada. That means you might be leveraging large language models hosted in Canada. You also need to make sure you have a good strategy. And you need to align that vision and that scope. And here's a little checklist I have. As you develop your AI strategy, you need to start with the questions: which business unit stakeholders is the strategy most relevant to? What's the timeline? How do you define those AI systems? And essentially, how does your AI strategy align with your business strategy? From my experience, you need to have the AI use cases, which I call your AI portfolio. And you need to establish that AI operating model to achieve success. If you have a strong if you have strong use cases, that means you are, trying things, pilot testing things. You have got identified use cases. You also need to be able to operate it and scale it for this to drive value. That's your formula for success. You want to have the stakeholder on board. You need that buy-in. You need that business opportunity, that right use case. You need the right data and tools. The technology needs to be there. You also need to have the capabilities. Right now, even though we have got things like vibe coding and many other tools out there, you still need a couple of experts. You need the data science and AI team, those engineers to help you stand up the capabilities. You might be leveraging a third party or an accelerator or an internal team or a mix of that. And then you need to have that AI-driven action. If you build something in a prototype, but you did not take that action, well, you didn't translate that into business value, right? You also need to make sure that adoption is part of it. That governance and monitoring needs to be overlaid for optimal business results at scale. You want to overcome those barriers with AI adoption, that data readiness. You also want to establish a feedback loop. Your AI strategy, those policies, they need to feed back. You need to keep adapting and make sure they're in line. As AI shapes businesses, you have to make sure that you're adapting. You have got that right governance in place. And when I'm saying monitoring, you need to monitor not just the algorithms and the LMs, you need to monitor the process as well. And does it still add value for optimal business results? So at an organizational level, we are now facing that hybrid human AI team compositions. We are redefining competencies. We are establishing AI operating models and frameworks. So any questions? Any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. There is also this cultural leadership impact and change, the mindset and the trust. A lot of experiments, unfortunately, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of experiments, they tend to fail because we want that psychological safety. A lot of it is AI going to take over my tasks? Is it going to take over my job? And a lot of resistance comes from, unfortunately, these days inside of companies, from the employees not adapting, because many are concerned, what's going to happen to me in my job? How is this? If I help teach this AI system, this agentic system, to do a part of my job, what does this mean for me? And even if it saves me, let's say, a couple hours a day, what does this mean for me, for my team? Does this mean today we do this and tomorrow it learns more and takes over more of my tasks? So these are all very valid and important concerns. Some of the guardrails I put on the slide around safety, personally identifiable information, moderation, tools, do read that fine print. Let's say you work with AWS or Azure, do ask those questions. Don't just assume things. Don't assume how your data is handled. Don't assume how this agentic system operates. Also, you need to make sure that you are building systems that are relevant and making sense. You need to balance the risks and the rewards and prioritize those experiments that bring that strategic business value and that team. So I want to thank everybody. I'm going to leave you with this slide. It is important to consider with AI systems, you need to augment your metrics. So I put together the slide around operational metrics and KPIs, business impact. It's not just how much time do we save or how much in terms of dollars do we drive. You need to look into additional metrics, utilization, task completion, average resolution. How does the system perform? How does this impact downstream? You also need to start looking at things like hallucination or bias, checks, and you need to become more sophisticated with your metrics that you are yeah. So don't just say, hey, how much time does this agentic AI system save us? Or that is still value, right? I'll tell you an example. I worked with a company, and the sales team of about 50 individuals started leveraging an AI agentic system that crafts email follow-ups just to help them follow up with their customers. 50 salespeople in that department. And when I talked to them, they said, you know what, Alina, we are saving 2 hours per person every day. And I said, fabulous. 50 employees saving 2 hours every morning crafting emails. But that's not the success, to be honest. The success is the fact that they're able to drive more sales. That particular team was able to deliver an incremental 3 to 6% on the bottom line. So they were able to increase their sales. How were they able to do that? And I asked them, how is this now performing? How are you able to deliver such outstanding result? Because we are talking a huge team in a huge company with millions of dollars, circulating. How is it possible that they were able to put in and establish such a, that's quite a bit of an impact? Because the story here is not, hey, we are saving 2 hours per person and equivalent to so many FTEs. The real story is that we are now able to unlock and free up our time to close more business. Also, because this agentic AI system is helping us produce hyper-personalized content at such a scale that we are actually able to drive more business. We are able to close more deals. And somebody joked and said, you know what, AI systems, they don't take breaks. They don't go on lunch. If somebody goes on vacation, the AI system still crafts the custom email follow-up. And another AI system comes in, kicks in, and they need to translate it to multiple languages because they have got customers across the world. And they told me, you know what, the impact is we had to leverage other teams for translation in the past. Now we are speeding up our custom communication, and we are impacting 3 to 6% of the bottom line, in addition to the hours that we are saving. Because before all of this, we were doing this. So we said fail fast, learn fast. I think you need to win fast and learn fast. I'm going to put the focus on the winning, not on the failing. Okay? You need to make sure we have that AI strategy, the AI portfolio, and the right AI operating model. I wonder how many of us have got a strong operating model. How many of us have got that AI strategy, a winning AI strategy that aligns our business strategy and those AI use cases, and that winning AI operating model. So, for final thoughts of the day, AI is a catalyst across every industry. Every industry is now transforming with AI. I myself, I'm a builder. I have built many agentic systems and plugged them across enterprises. And what I'm seeing, the best impact, the value comes when you align that business strategy with your AI strategy. And those organizations that fail to adapt, they do risk being taken over by those companies that are able to transform their enterprises and become more AI driven. That AI strategy is a continuous journey, not just a one time plan. Organizations do need to adapt to new trends, new business need, execution, and alignment. So playing it safe is no longer an option.